Today on our 2017 Ford Edge, you're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to show you how I installed the Roadmaster 4-Diode Universal Wiring Kit for towed vehicles with 7-wire to 6-wire straight cord, part number RM-152-98146-7. First thing I want to talk to you about is what the diodes do. Diodes are going to be connected to the factory wiring in your towed vehicle. They're going to protect your vehicle from any feedback from your RV. Because your RV or your towed vehicle is getting that signal from your RV, that power is running through wires to your towed vehicle's lights, those diodes are going to stop any feedback, any shorts or anything like that from your RV getting into the factory wiring on your car, in turn protecting it. Now, this wiring kit is going to be one of 5 main components in a flat tow setup. The other 4 are going to be your base plate, your tow bar, your safety cables, and your braking system. With this kit, if you own an SE or SE old model Ford Edge, it will require 2 50 ohm 10 watt resistors. The reason you need resistors is because the vehicle is equipped with LED lights. Because incandescent lights run on 12 volts of power, this vehicle being equipped with the more efficient LED lights may only run on 6 volts of power. The resistors are going to take that 12 volt power coming from the RV and resist it or reduce it down to that 6 volts for your LEDs. If you didn't have the resistors, the LED lights on your vehicle will pulsate or flicker and not operate correctly. Now that we've gone over what the diodes and resistors do, let me walk you through step by step on how I install them on each taillight. Now I already have my fascia removed, but I set it in place so I can go over how I took it off. First thing we're going to do is open your hood. You're going to remove this panel. On this panel you're going to have some push pin fasteners like this. You're going to take a flathead screwdriver and you're going to put it in like that. You're going to pull up that center. Once you pull up that center, you should be able to pull the whole thing out. You want to make sure you get this base with it. Once you have those removed, you're going to take this panel off and set it aside. Next, we're going to have 6 10mm head bolts that are holding your grill to the vehicle. And you're going to have 3 on the other side. We'll remove those. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to have 6 5.5mm head screws. The one right here on the inside of the fender well. Go ahead and remove those on both sides of the vehicle. On the underside of your fascia, you're going to have a panel that looks like this. You're going to have 5.5mm head screws and 8mm head screws. You need to remove all of them to remove this panel. Once removed, set it aside. Next, on each side of the vehicle, where the front fascia attached to the fender, inside here you're going to have 3 8mm head bolts. Go ahead and remove those on both sides of the vehicle. You have 2 ways of doing this. You can pull back the fender liner and reach in behind. Since you have removed the panel on the bottom, it gives you a nice access hole to get these off. Once you have all your hardware removed, you're going to start on each side. It's a good idea to have an extra set of hands. We're going to start on the lowest outside corner where your fender meets your fascia. You're going to pull it out slightly like that. You're going to work your way to the center. Once you get to about right in here, right about in this area, there's a clip attached to the fascia. It sticks out and it has a little edge on it. What you need to do is pull out and push down. When you push down, it's going to raise that up, then you can slide it off. Just make sure you don't push down too hard or pull out too hard. There it is. And then we'll set our fascia aside. In your kit, you're going to get about 30 foot of wire that looks like this. We need to route it to the back of the vehicle. What I'm going to do is I wrap it up around where my wire is going to be connected to my 6-pole plug. And I leave yourself a little extra. I just routed it down right through this panel, stayed away from my radiator, right around this way. This panel right here, you're going to have some 7mm screws or bolts. You take that off, at least one side, all the way down. It'll go all the way down to the gas tank. Pull off the one side and you can feed that wire right down to where it comes out this end. On this outside edge, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10mm nuts. Go and remove those. When you pull this down, you just take your wire and stuff it in there and put those back into place. What I did here, because we're running right along the fuel tank, I went ahead and put some wire loom on it just to give it that little bit of separation. I'm going to make sure we're staying away from anything hot or moving. I went over top of my axle, right over the back here. You're going to have a panel in the corner. You can see right here, I ran my wiring behind this panel, away from my exhaust. Here at the back of the vehicle, we're going to remove the rear fascia to make it a lot easier. To start, we need to remove our tail lights. We're going to take a small flathead screwdriver, and we're going to pop this little cap off. We're going to take a T25 star bit. If you don't have a star bit, you can use a flathead screwdriver, and there's a bolt right inside here. Go ahead and remove those on both sides. Take your tail light, you're going to pull back, like that. Then you're going to disconnect your wiring. Now this vehicle previously had tow wiring put on it, so it disconnects the same way. If you don't have the wiring on the back, your plug's going to sit right down in here and you'll disconnect it the same way. So on each side, right inside the fender well, you're going to have 6 5.5 millimeter head screws we need to remove. Once you have all the 5.5 millimeter head screws removed from both fender wells, we're going to come to the bottom, and you're going to have the same thing that run across the bottom. You're going to have 2 that hold this panel in place, or hold your fascia to the panel. Go ahead and remove all of those. Next, you want to get an extra set of hands right here at the top of your taillight pocket. You're going to have little clips. We're just going to pull up, kind of like that, to release it, and then that corner pop out. Come down here to this lower corner, pull out. Keep in mind, if you have sensors, there's going to be a plug right behind here you're going to need to take off. So don't pull out too hard. We're going to push down and pull out. Then we'll set our rear fascia aside. Next, we're going to have a little plastic spacer here. It's going to make it a lot easier if we go ahead and remove that and then separate our wire from the spacer. We're going to have 2 8 millimeter head screws holding it in place. And there's 2 pegs. There's one about here and there's one about here, but you can see where this is holding on. So what you want to do is pull out, get those 2 pegs where they're outside of the vehicle so you're not breaking them. And you're just going to pull up like that. We're going to take our wire, we're just going to pull it off like that. Do that on both sides of the vehicle. Next thing we need to do, we're going to pull all 4 of our wires up to one side. You're going to have your brown, your yellow, your green, and your white. Once you get them up, I kind of fed mine back behind, so you can see right here my 4-pole wire. I kind of ran it up behind my wiring here, and I just let it rest. Once you get there, you're going to take your green wire, your white wire and brown wire, yellow wire, and you're going to separate them all. And the reason I waited to separate them until I got up here is so that I only separate them here. If you separate them down here before you pull them up, you may separate them all the way back under here, and then you're wasting a lot of it. So pull it up, separate them down to about here, and just let them hang. So what we're looking for is a combined signal. We have one that has low voltage there, one that has high there. Now we're going to turn on our blinker, because at this time we have on our running lights, and see what signal we get and what wire is coming out to. So now what we're going to look for is we're going to look for both signals on one. So you can see this is the first one, the one that I touched that had the high voltage on it. Neither one of these have anything. This one here in the center has my blinker. This first one here is going to have my blinker and that low voltage signal. So that's going to be my dual purpose wire that I'm going to be using, which is going to be my white wire. From here, you're going to take your resistor, you're going to put a spade connector on one side, you're going to put a buck connector on the other. You're going to take your brown wire, you're going to cut it to size. The extra piece of brown, you're going to take those 2 ends and you're going to put them together and put them in the other end of the buck connector. The one end of the spade connector is going to go on the in part of your diode, which is going to be the side that has double connectors on it. The yellow wire is going to connect to the other side. The extra yellow wire that you cut off of this, you're going to make a little jump, and you're going to go from the out on the top of that diode, you're going to jump it to the in of the second diode. Again, your inside of the diode is going to be your double. Once you've located which wire has a variable voltage resistance or variable voltage, that's the wire you're going to cut in half, and you're going to add 2 of the spade connectors. One side is going to go onto the in end of the diode. Your other end is going to go to the out. The out goes to the tail light. Now we're going to take the extra brown wire that we have connected to our driver's side and our green wire, and we're going to route it across over to the passenger side. You can see I kind of have it running right here, right above my bumper beam. Now on our passenger side, we're basically going to do the same thing. We're just going to have a different color wire we're connecting into. Our brown wire, again, is going to connect into our resistor, except on this side we're only going to have one wire going into the bottom of the buck connector. And then our green wire is going to be going into the other side on our diode, next to our brown wire, or next to our resistor. Take an extra piece of that green wire that you cut off, and you're going to make that jump over to your second diode. And then the wire that you determine has a variable voltage, you're going to connect it into the other side, next to your green wire or next to your green jumper. And then your other end, you're going to connect to the out on your second diode. The out, again, goes to your tail light. With your white wire, I just ran it up right here, cut it off, and I grounded it right to the body. You want to make sure that your ground is on metal, not on any plastic. So now, before we get our fascia back in place, we're going to test out to make sure everything's working correctly. So we're going to get our light set back into place here. Then we're going to activate our lights, make sure everything is working correctly. Next, in your kit, you're going to get a 6-pole plug like this. We're going to go ahead and hook this up so we can test our lighting. Next, we're going to split our wires across just like this, and we're going to strip off about 1/4 inch off each end. For this particular install, if you look on the back of your plug, it's going to tell you what each one goes to. TM is going to be your running lights, which is going to be your brown wire. GD is going to be your ground, which is going to be your white wire. LT is going to be your left turn, which is going to be your yellow wire. RT is going to be right turn, which is going to be your green wire. Take a small Phillips head or flathead screwdriver. You want to make sure you don't pull these out all the way, because these are very small screws and they can get lost very easy. So you want them out enough that you can get your wire down in there. So we'll start with our TM, so our brown wire right here on the top. I'm just putting it on here temporarily just to test out our lights. Now with your plug, you're going to get a little boot like this. So once we install it, we're ready to go, we've tested it, everything's okay. We'll slide the boot on like this onto our wire, connect our wires. We're going to put some dielectric grease on all our connections to help keep them from corroding. We'll slide our boot back over the top. Then we're going to take electrical tape and tape around the edge all the way to the end. We'll put some wire loom on it to where it meets up with the boot, and we'll take that tape and go right over the top of our wire loom. That'll make sure all this stays sealed. But for now, again, we're just going to temporarily install it to test it out. Keep in mind, our diode kit is only going to make our taillights function. Under normal circumstances, when we don't have it connected to our RV, our taillights are going to function, and then our brake light here is going to function. With this setup, when we're hooked up to our RV, this light will not come on because we're only hooked up to our taillights. Now we're going to test our wiring using an alternate power source. This is going to simulate being hooked up to your RV. Taillights, left turn, brake lights, right turn. Once you have all your connections made, you've tested out your lights and everything's working correctly, you can reinstall your fascia in reverse order from the way you took it off. Don't forget to make sure you plug in if you have the back sensors. With your front fascia off, now's a good time to add any additional wiring or accessories you may want to add, like your charge line, your battery charge line, or your breakaway switch for your braking system. Now let's go ahead and put our fascia back in place, and I'll explain how I cut out the hole for my 6-pole plug. So what I did to cut it out, and you're not going to be able to push it in this far, you can see I already have it cut out, is take your plug and line it up with your holes. And you don't need a big hole, it just needs to be centered basically in between these. So it'll look like that. You can take some cutters just like this, it's pretty thin plastic, and just cut out just a small area. Put your boot on the back of your plug, because that is a little bit thicker, and make sure that you can slide that boot in and out of that hole. If you need to go bigger, just cut off a little bit more. On the back of our 6-pole plug, our charge line is going to go to the center post. So now we'll just make our connections with our existing wiring and then our charge line. First, we're going to take our boot, we're going to slide the skinny end on, and we'll just start making our connections. Once you have your wires connected, take a little bit of dielectric grease, and we want to cover our connections. We're just going to take this tape and go all the way down, right over top of the wire line. Shove it back in there, and we can mount our 6-pole plug. Once you have it installed, you can reinstall your fascia in reverse order from the way you took it off. That'll do it for a look at and installation on the Roadmaster 4-Diode Universal Wiring Kit for towed vehicles in 7-wire to 6-wire straight cord, part number RM-152-98146-7 on our 2017 Ford Edge.